Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for our webinar on customer service and the effects that has on social media. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Kristy Bailey. I own and run 180 Marketing. So 180 Marketing, we work with businesses to develop marketing strategies or to strategically market, and a lot of that obviously incorporates social media. So what we're going to go through today is what I sort of do on a daily basis. So please draw on that experience. The webinar is designed to be interactive, so please use the Q&A or the chat functionality and ask questions at any time, and I will answer them as we go along. We'll also have some time at the end for questions if you have anything that you want to hold on to, and go into a bit more of an open discussion at the end. But otherwise, we'll get into it. So what we're going to look at today is first of all that the suggestion of customer service being a single interaction, whereas customer experience incorporates an entire customer journey. So we're going to look at that customer journey, the journey itself, and then understanding the whole customer experience process. We'll also look at the dimensions of customer service. We'll look at first impressions, handling complaints effectively, and upselling as well as strategies to improve that customer experience. We'll then talk about social media and that critical link between each customer interaction and social media. So throughout the webinar, you'll discover how important customer interactions are for your online presence, whether or not you're an online or an offline business, and also discover what you can do to generate positive word of mouth from each and every customer. So we do have a lot to get through today. Like I said, stop me at any time for questions. So customer experience management or customer service is that single touch point that I just mentioned, and it's a touch point with a brand at the moment that they're in front of you, whereas customer experience impacts feelings and emotion and encompasses that entire customer journey. So customer experience is defined by the interactions and the experiences that your customer has with your business throughout that entire customer journey. So from the first point of contact right through to hopefully becoming a happy and a loyal customer. So your job is to understand the whole customer experience process and then learn that critical link between each customer interaction and for the purpose of today's session, specifically looking at how social media fits into the customer experience. So rather than customer service sitting alone, we want to look at the job at hand to be the customer experience management. So your customer experience has to be a top priority for your business. And the reason is very simple. The companies that focus on customer experience reduce turnover of customers or churn and increase revenues, which of course leads to higher profits. So that's really the ultimate goal. Successful customer experience management is a 360-degree view of your customers with integrated and up-to-date data on your customers as well. So that's really important to, first of all, understand your customers, to create a customer journey map, to develop an emotional connection to your customers, and to capture customer feedback to track their satisfaction or even track trends for that matter. So implementing a social media strategy in your customer service model will give you a chance to communicate with customers at a level that makes sure that they feel part of your story, which will then encourage them to recommend your brand to other people and become a brand advocate. So a really interesting stat is that 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand, even a brand that they love, after just one bad experience. So customers will rate companies, with a high customer experience score, like a 10 out of 10, and spend up to 140% more and remain loyal for up to 6 years. So keep that in mind. We want that high customer experience rating from our customers. We want the customers to have that connection with us. So now looking at the journey itself. Now, the customer journey varies from business to business, and it really depends on the nature of your business. But this kind of journey map that you see on the screen now will give you an idea of how the journey just might look. So to map the journey for your business, what you need to do is to think about and visualize each and every touch point that you have with your future and also your current clients. So really think about each step of the interaction, starting with that initial step when the customer discovers your product or service. So that exercise helps you step into their shoes. And to see your business from their perspective, which is really important. Sometimes we get so caught up in small business, owning and operating it, that you know how things work from your side, but you don't think about it from the customer's perspective and how they may actually get to being a customer. So I recommend that you map this journey before you design your customer experience around it. So thinking about what you know about customers and how you can step out that journey, essentially. So on this diagram, you can see the different steps in the customer journey, which I'll go through in just a second, but above and below that, you'll see different touch points. So there is some online interactions, there's more traditional or offline interactions. You'll see social media just towards the end, or social networks in that advocacy phase. So, but think about online ads, word of mouth via social media. It actually pops up a lot more than once. So keep that in mind as well. There's so many different touch points, and we really have to think about what the customer perception is of your business at each and every touch point. All right, so for the journey itself, typically it starts with awareness and consideration. So they're the first two stages. And they're crucial to adding people into your sales funnel, or getting people to become your customers. Customers are reading reviews and testimonials. They're comparing their experience with you to the experience that they're having with other customers. And this is just a information sort of gathering experience. So this is looking at things like your brochures, your websites, could be press release, that could be what other people are saying about you. So think about those kind of things and how you stack up in that sense. In terms of how your customer service is at this point, a quick response time is really important here. So if people are reaching out to you to ask you a question, they've just found your product, perhaps through an online ad or even an offline ad, they're thinking that your product will meet their needs and solve whatever problem it is that they have, but they've got a question about one of the features of your product or service, you need to be able to answer them very, very quickly at that stage. And that obviously ties in with your customer service, online and offline. So the next stage of the journey is then conversion or purchase. Now, this part of the journey is absolutely crucial because it really deepens the customer's relationship with your business. It's also where leads or potential customers decide that your products are the best fit for their needs, and they buy something. So the quicker people get to that point with the fewer barriers, the better. So we've really got to get them there. We've got to provide them as much information as possible. Obviously, sell them what it is that you're offering and what value it has to them and how it can satisfy their needs or wants, and get them there, like I said, with as fewer barriers as possible. The next stage is retention. So it's really not enough to spend all of your marketing energy acquiring new customers and then leaving them to fend for themselves, or just not engaging with them again once they've bought something. You really need to engage with them to keep them coming back to you and to keep them referring you, or keep front of mind. If your customers do stop hearing from you, or if you stop helping them get value from your product, throughout their entire life cycle, then you risk making that life cycle much shorter. So high retention helps to drive, obviously, like I said, further customer acquisition with help or referral programs and that kind of thing, or reviews. But what we've got to do is get customers to that point where they want to share about you. You need to support them to engage with you, remind them of the value that you offer them and the increased benefits that they can get by sharing their experience with other people. Advocacy, that last stage, that then comes with satisfied customers. So 83% of satisfied customers say they're willing to share or refer to their network of friends and family if they're satisfied. So we want each and every customer to be an advocate and to be sharing their positive experience. There's a really large component of this that sits with social media. So this is where it really is at with social. But obviously, like I said, it fits into many aspects of the customer journey. Customer expectations are on the rise, so we need to keep that in mind. And expectations are going to continue to grow, which forces companies to reinvent themselves and constantly look at ways that they can do that in order to survive. The reason is there's so much availability of multiple products and services. There's lots of different brands, lots of different offers. So there's a lot of marketing or advertising noise. Plus the presence of online platforms, particularly social media, gives a lot more control to the customer in that decision-making phase, because they're able to engage with customers that they do and that they don't know as well, to really find out the truth behind brands. So it's a lot more than just our marketing or our advertising. So a key way to really improve that customer journey is, first of all, to understand your customers. You have to remember that not all customers are the same, and therefore they won't need or expect the same things when they're purchasing products or services. Everyone will have different needs, and they can fall into different categories as well. So they could differ through their age, through their social background, through their economic background, perhaps their cultural background. They may have special interests. They may have physical or mental abilities, or differing physical and mental abilities. So really keep that in mind. The first point to successfully meeting the needs and expectations of your customers is to really know your audience. So establish that extremely clear picture of who exactly your audience is. And that is really looking into things beyond basic demographic information like age, gender, location. You have to develop a really clear picture of your target market to know that you can actually satisfy their needs and wants. So obviously, yeah, to make sure that you're reaching the right buyers, you first of all need to have that clear idea or clear picture of who they are. You have to then recognize that your ideal customers may not be who you think they are. So fortunately, you can determine who they are, who your current customers are, by analyzing your existing customer base. But then you need to do research outside of that to identify perhaps what new target audiences there might be. Now, you can look at the more data that you gather within your business, you can start to look at what customers you have and what sort of traits correlate with repeat purchases, or what segments become long-term loyal customers. So make sure that you're gathering enough data on your current customers to be able to data mine or do your own internal research. You'll then have to also consider that you might need to look for new ways to meet customer needs. So once you've identified who your most valuable audience is and what it is that they're looking for, your goal should be to continuously find new ways to better meet their needs. So something really interesting that small businesses, I find, tend to fail to recognize, I guess you could say, is that you can never ever expect your audience or your target market to change their expectations to fit your product. So think about your product and your service and what you offer and how customers are changing continually. Are you changing to meet the needs of your customers? So you really have to consider that and develop this customer-centric culture. So you have to keep your customers at the center of each and every decision you make, and encourage your employees, if you have staff, to do that as well. So I'll expand on the customer service side of things shortly, but the key point is to have clear customer service standards. And if you've got a team, obviously, as the team that interacts with your customers most often, they're the ones that are going to need to understand that. And it has a major impact on whether or not your company is meeting your customers' expectations. Hiring and training an excellent team is absolutely crucial in that sense. Also, collecting feedback regularly is absolutely crucial. Social media makes that really easy for us, which is fortunate, and we're going to talk about that and how you can collect information through social media. But having a look at how you collect feedback through your team, through yourself, whoever's at the customer forefront, so that you can be continually adapting your products and services to meet the needs of your customers. I would also suggest having a look at your competitors when it comes to customer needs and expectations. Look at what your competitors are doing. Are they releasing new products and services? What are their customers saying to them, about them, with them? What kind of conversations are they having? Have a look at what they're doing, because it could be a really good indication that perhaps you need to keep up with certain trends and make particular changes. So that's really important as well. But the key point here when it comes to customer needs and expectations is to really not think that you can just keep your business as it is forever. It will have to continually evolve, and you need to know exactly who your customers are to know that your product or service is right for them. Now, customer service has 3 dimensions, and customer service is at the core of meeting needs and expectations. So the 3 dimensions of customer service very much interlink. So first of all, you've got human dimensions. Now that relates to body language, to attitudes, to motivation of staff, how motivated they are or perhaps are not. There's business elements as well. So this could be your processes and procedures. It could be your product offering and making sure that your product is actually up to scratch and, like we said, meeting the needs of your customers. Your staff knowledge and how knowledgeable they are about, obviously, your customers, first of all, but also of your products and services, and specific functions within your business as well. And then, of course, the delivery of your product. So how is it actually delivered, and does that appeal to your audience? Then you've got some hidden dimensions. Now, hidden dimensions are interesting. Now, you can have hidden dimensions as a customer, or you can have hidden dimensions as an employer, a staff member, or even as a business owner. So hidden dimensions are these underlying things in a business, what's going on behind the scenes that could be impacting customer service. So it could be your policies. It could be your specific business policies. It could be technical issues behind the scenes. It could be pressure on staff, let's say due to limited staff resources, they're overworked, or it could be levels of empowerment of staff, or the quality of their working relationships. Are they getting along with other people that they're working with, and how does that impact customer service? Also bringing home problems to work. Now, sometimes staff do this, sometimes business owners do this, and customers definitely do this as well. So that's a really key thing, and it's important that your staff are aware that that does impact customer service, or has the potential to impact customer service. In terms of customers having hidden dimensions, that will really impact how they receive your service, or how they're interacting with your staff as well. So thinking about what has happened in their day that has made them potentially difficult to please, or what is it about the reason behind why they're taking your service, or purchasing your product. So thinking about that as well, and making sure that yourself and your staff understand that that definitely impacts customer service too. Now, the 3 dimensions of customer service are good to know for both frontline staff and owners. And research does say that if you align the 3 dimensions, it will equate to excellent customer service. So it's a really good reason to make sure that everybody in your organisation understands these. Now, good customer service is obviously critical to success in all businesses. It can really elevate you above your competition, but you have to make sure that you're always considering that mantra of under-promising and over-delivering. It'll hugely improve your customer retention rate and customer satisfaction, obviously. Keep in mind, if customers are frustrated with the service that they receive, they're more likely to rate the service poorly, and that will go online. So have a look at your reviews online. When was the last time you had a look at what people were saying about you? Looking at social media, Google reviews. There could be others more specific to your industry, like Yelp, Zomato, TripAdvisor, those kind of reviews. People can review anywhere and everywhere, even on community, community pages and that kind of thing. There's a number of ways that people can review you. So have a look, and we'll go into this, but make sure that you have a look at your reviews online, even if you don't think your customers are reviewing, or if you say, I'm not on Google. Trust me, you will be. There will be someone that's created a Google page and potentially even reviewed you. So make sure that you're claiming all those listings as well, which, like I said, we'll go into a little bit more detail on that soon. So having a look at how we can actually improve customer service to make sure that you have that good retention rate and ultimately have people that become brand advocates. Well, there's a few key areas that we'll go over, and we'll start with first impressions. First impressions are made within the first 3 to 7 seconds of the initial meeting. Now, the customer journey really does start with first impressions, and it's so important that you get it right. Each and every person interacts with the business for the same reason. Like we said, that's to solve a need or want and to feel good. Now, what we do need to keep in mind now is that your first impression, it doesn't always mean an interaction with the business. Your first impression can be made online. So that's really, really interesting, is that, and I do this all the time, you go do a Google search. Let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, a home decorating company of some sort. You Google it, you get a list of results through Google. The search engine results page comes up. You pick based on a few words there. So that's a first impression. What do your words say, and what are your descriptions on the search engine pages? having a look at what they say, that can be a first impression. If I'm happy with that, I'll click through and I'll go to your web page. What does your homepage look like? Does it appeal to me as a target audience and make me want to continue on the journey with you? So quite often you might have a business that doesn't have a, it's not an online business as such, but a website is a huge, huge part of your first impression. So have you had a look at that and make sure that it's actually talking to your customers, that it's up to date? And we do, trust me, we do entire webinars on digital marketing. There's one in a couple of days where we talk about your website, your design, and how important it is, particularly not only for the website design and the look and feel, but the words on it, and for it to be the perfect first impression. But in terms of within your business, what else forms your first impression? Well, it could be your environment and your venue presentation or your location. It could be the smell, the temperature, the music, the atmosphere. It has to be consistent with the brand that you're creating, and it has to speak directly to your target audience. So thinking about that, do your colors, the music, does the atmosphere that you create actually appeal to your target audience? Now, we see this all the time in a retail sense, where you go into, let's say, you know, younger, I guess your retail stores that are aimed at younger people, fashion stores in particular. The music is in line with that particular target audience. Your staff's personal image is also really important, and that's in line with who's going to walk through that door. Your local language is also really important. Is it appropriate to use slang? Is it not? Who is, you know, knowing if there's any cultural differences between your target audience and your staff, and making sure that they understand any cultural implications as well. Your body language is hugely important, and this is customer service 101, talking about body language, but you'd be surprised how many people fail to understand their target market, and therefore don't know what is actually appropriate to their target market, and therefore what policies they need to implement within their business. Thinking about whether you're smiling and acknowledging people. Now, Disney have a really interesting rule. The Disney concept is the 15 and 10 rule. And that is that if you're within 15 feet, or if a customer is within 15 feet, which is about 4.5 meters of a Disney employee, they have to acknowledge them with a smile, obviously eye contact and a smile. If the customer is then within 10 feet, which is about 3.5 meters, they have to smile and verbally acknowledge them with a hi, how can I help you? Or even I'll be with you in a minute. So that acknowledgement is absolutely crucial. You have to make someone feel good in that very first interaction, so that they want to either stay in your store or want to then be able to approach you and engage with you, perhaps purchase your product, or even if they've already purchased your product, feel good about doing so. That acknowledgement is hugely important. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I come across it all the time where, you know, and it happens, I guess, I think it happens in busy environments as well, where you've got staff buzzing around and lots going on. It actually happened to me yesterday where I was at a counter ready to order something, and I'd waited quite a while in line. So I wasn't annoyed, but, you know, starting to get a little bit frustrated, needed to go, I had somewhere to be. The person served someone in front of me and then walked away. So I was standing there at the counter ready to make this purchase, and there was probably 5 or 6 staff around, all doing something, and they were clearly very busy, but nobody acknowledged me. Nobody said, I'll be with you in just a second. The person then went off and started doing something else. So I'm sort of standing there going, hang on a second, is anybody coming back to serve me? Do I walk away? Do I really need this product now? I don't know that I want it anymore because I've had to wait already and now no one's acknowledging me. So you go through this process of that not feeling good, and that's why we buy things, is to feel good. So keep that in mind. That's really, really important. Obviously, your attitude and having empathy with customers is really important as well. Particularly, you know, you see the customer that's a bit frazzled, they might have kids hanging off them, or, you know, come in from the rain or something like that. So just, you know, having empathy and understanding what they're going through as well is really important. So those first impressions are hugely important. Now, looking at complaint handling, pretty much everyone has to deal with a customer complaint at some point in their lives. So it could be something as simple as getting an order slightly wrong, or there could be a major business error, but how you handle that complaint makes all the difference. So this LEARN format as an acronym is a really great format to follow, and it's a great format to instill in your staff. So the L is to listen to the customer's concern without interrupting them. The E is to empathize, be sympathetic to them and understand or show that you do care about what their problem is after they've told you. The A is to apologize where appropriate. Obviously, you should apologize. Now, sometimes that means apologizing that the customer feels the way they do, or sometimes it means apologizing that you've done something wrong. So there should always be an apology in there, but what that is will depend on the situation. The R is to react or reaction, to evaluate different solutions and react on some sense. And then once you've done that, to notify or to follow up. So after you've offered or provided a solution, personally check in with that person to make sure that they are satisfied with what you offered them, with your reaction or your solution. So that's hugely important as well. Sometimes you might get through to the reaction stage. So you've listened, you've empathized, you've apologized, you've reacted, but the person might not be satisfied. So if you don't follow up or notify them what's going on, or personally check in with them to make sure that they're satisfied, they might fall off at that point, and then the complaint sort of still stands, if that makes sense. There are reasons that we don't handle complaints very well. They are, first of all, because we can become too busy. So too busy and sort of don't listen properly, too busy to listen to what the actual the issue is, or too busy to want to deal with it because there's so much going on. The next reason we don't handle complaints well is because of being defensive. So trying to come up with a solution too quickly. So yeah, let's just fix it type thing, and people then don't feel heard. If you have staff and they are in the customer sort of facing environment, they might not have enough training, which can be intimidating for them, which results in them not handling the complaint too well. So keep that in mind as well. That's a really key thing. Staff have to be trained well so that they don't get intimidated. And that sort of ties in with the next point, being unsure of empowerment. So that's crucial as well, that staff understand at what point they can react or offer a solution for the customer, versus what point they might need to escalate the issue to the next level up, whether that be a supervisor, yourself, or a manager, someone else, so that they do understand at what point it gets taken further. Also, and that sort of ties into both of those last points, a lack of procedures or a procedural breakdown. They may not have been trained with a complaint handling procedure, and therefore they're unsure of their empowerment, they're intimidated by lack of training. So keep that in mind. Complaint handling is absolutely crucial, and complaints, as you know, go online. So that's why it's also interlinked. Customer service is so intimately linked with social media, and we have ways by handling, by offering these good customer service elements to only let the positive things go online, because everything else we've dealt with offline, and turn that customer around is what we're trying to do. So another way to really improve customer service, but to also improve your revenues, is suggestive selling. So suggestive selling is a sales technique where the employee or the staff member asks the customer if they'd like to include an additional purchase, or even to recommend a product that might suit them. And it's used to increase the purchase amount of the client and obviously improve your revenues in your business, but it hugely impacts customer service, because customers, you would have had to take in some time to understand them to be able to make that recommendation, and you're doing it to help them out. And obviously, as we know, it helps the business as well, but therefore it translates to good customer service. So how do you do it? Obviously, you need to incorporate a feature and a benefit. So a feature is something about the product or service that you're offering, and then a benefit is what it means for them. So what can you offer that links the two? So what's in it for the customer, essentially. things like your greeting is a really key element in finding out what the customer really wants, or what feature later down the track, which could be 1 minute or it could be 5 minutes, you can give them based on what you know about them. So open-ended questions are really important here. Thinking about, that in that sense, it really encourages a full or a meaningful answer using your own knowledge or feelings. So basically, you don't want the customer to have the ability to say a one-worded response, a yes or a no. So the opposite of a closed-ended question. So thinking about that side of it. So I think questions could be, tell me what you have in mind, what's the occasion, what are you looking forward to about your experience today? So things like that are really important, those open-ended questions. Know your products, know your menus. And when I say menus, I'm not talking about F&B type thing. I'm talking about what range of products you offer. So know them, know what range, and know what customers most often do. So let's say a customer comes in to get product A, or as the example says on the screen, if your customer orders X, can you offer them Y? And that's an upsell, so to speak. And then there'll be a reason. So most people, I know you've liked that product, but most people would enjoy this product, or a lot of people that purchase that also purchase this. Those kind of things where you can link to, but you need to know about the customer. So you can anticipate their needs by what you know about them through conversation, what you can see, their physical situation. So lots of things there that you can get as indicators just through analyzing someone and engaging with them. Also engaging with them with conversation helps your customer service, because the customer feels like they're valued or important. So that suggestive selling is fantastic. As a business owner, it should 100% be part of your policies and procedures and your staff training, purely for revenues, but also for customer service. It's hugely important. All right, so now we're looking at how this customer journey fits in with and relates to the social media space. So first of all, what is social media? Well, it's any website or application that enables users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. So we think about it, and the two that spring to my mind are Facebook and Instagram, but there's Twitter, there's even like your TripAdvisors and those kind of things. There's a ton of social sharing sites. So social media is a lot more than just messaging and acquisition. It also really impacts your SEO as well. So I'll expand more on that in a minute, but think about anywhere that people can share socially. And that is essentially social media. So it could be blogs, it could be absolutely anything. Before we go into it too much more, just to touch on the reason it's so important. 88% of people are influenced by reviews and online comments. So thinking about that, think about how social pressure can really tarnish your branding as quickly as you grow, and think about how fingertips are always on the move. So if someone's waiting in a line and perhaps disgruntled about service, they can quickly let their friends know on Facebook, or if they've enjoyed a stay at a hotel, they'll quickly jump on TripAdvisor and do a review, or they might be blogging on other sites about products they've purchased, anything from washing machines to services, like it could be massages or facials, and it could be absolutely anything. There is always a way to review and to socially engage with people about a product or service. So social media has played a really key role in the power shift to customers. So you think about how immensely connected the world has become since the introduction of social media. If you've had a bad experience, you'll absolutely review it online. If you want to praise the business on the latest product they've launched, you could post a video review on YouTube or Instagram, or think about, there's just so many ways to be connected. So the risks of social media can really greatly affect our reputation, and that's something that we need to keep in mind. So we've always got to keep in mind that we need to engage and encourage that positive social media. Now, positive social media is fantastic, and it really, social media itself can be negative. There can be negatives on there, and sometimes I think as small businesses we feel that the negative stuff on there isn't fair. There's always two sides to a story. So thinking about that, think about how we can really generate this positive social media and what the impact is on customer service, or how the customer service impacts social media. So your job is to look at how and where social interactions fit into your customer journey, and make sure that you're maximizing your efforts there so that you're part of any conversation going on, and then so that you're listening to feedback from your customers as well. So some tips for that are: reap the benefits of two-way brand engagement. So customers really enjoy it when businesses share information, if you share tips, ideas, sometimes even a bit of banter across social media. Customers love to send a message out to their favorite brands over social channels, and are really excited when they get a response back. So that two-way engagement on social is a great way to build brand loyalty and to help give your company its own voice. Consider social media as an extension of your contact info. It's another point of contact. Customers today expect a really quick response to their comments or to their concerns, and they want that within hours, not days. So social media lets customers really effortlessly reach out to you. They don't get stuck on hold or waiting for a response. So they don't want to go through a lot of hassle to go and find your phone number and then give you a call. They want to just reach out to you. So it's so important that you're there and that you are responding to them quickly. The other key thing with social media is that you really have to nip complaints in the bud very quickly and very easily, or you can nip them in the bud easily if you respond quickly. So if you avoid social media, it absolutely won't stop customers from speaking up if they've got a complaint. If you've got a presence on social channels, at least you know about issues and can address them really promptly to get ahead of the situation. But you absolutely have to get on there very quickly. Yeah, you really need to be doing it, and you need to have those alerts set up so that if there's comments there, that you're onto it. So if you're not there to do it, other people will be happy to pick up the conversation. Sometimes it could be customers, it could even be your competitors. So also, you obviously make sure you have your number and your email address listed so that they can have a quick way to access you on a service if they already use you, and that's via your social media channels. But definitely make sure that you are there responding to people on social media. You see things get really out of hand on social media when brands aren't part of the conversation. Now, we see this quite a bit, and you see it a lot of the time with big brands like your Telstra, Qantas, those kind of things. If there's something going on, then people will get on, and then other customers will get on and go, yeah, I've had that experience too, and then someone else will get on. And so it can go viral, or it can get big and get a lot of airtime very quickly. It might then go onto other pages. So, a local news site or something might pick it up and then start posting about your customer service because you're not there, part of the conversation. So get on there as quickly as possible if anything's said. Social media is also very positive in terms of spotting trends on, or perhaps even before they occur. So you should really keep your ear to the ground and pay very close attention to what customers are talking about in order to spot trends. So having a look at pages that are similar to yours, competitors' pages, obviously have a look at what customers are saying to them, to you. And just keep on top of things in that sense, because it could allow you to perhaps develop a new product or service based on what you're seeing or reading. Also make sure that you have a look at your analytics and have a look at what statistics you're getting on social, also what's translating to your website. You can track what hits you're getting from your socials back to your websites. I think it's really important to do that, just to see what's going on and what the trends are there. If you're starting to get a lot of interaction through social, you might want to put more time and effort into it, for example. But yeah, there's a lot of analytical information available. Also, things like monitoring hashtags is really important, particularly if you've got your own company hashtags that you've kind of taken ownership of, or if there's other hashtags that you're picking up on that, it could be the Perth hashtags, or any other city or location that you're in, or it could be topic specific. So do a bit of research on hashtags, and you might find that there's information there, like I said, through hashtags, but also through your competitors. You might be able to get a head start on providing customers what they want if there's conversation going on. Social media also gives you additional access to your customers. So social media absolutely shouldn't be considered an advertising opportunity. It's really not the right medium for a major sales campaign and a constant sales campaign. Obviously, you can share the odd offer on there. I would look at the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, be sharing that information, tips, tricks, engaging content with your customers, depending on what your product or service is. And then the odd post, that 20% of the time, perhaps a post that is offering some kind of sale information or salesy sort of information doesn't hurt. So keep that in mind. It just can't be the majority of your posts. Obviously, through a lot of social media, you have advertising specific ability through Facebook and Instagram, for example, even YouTube. So that's okay in that sense, but I'm talking about on your organic pages. Now, keep in mind that if you want to increase sales in the long term through social media activities, you have to be prepared to use that channel for customer service as a first instance. So customer engagement and customer service. Now, another benefit of social media, and I did touch on this earlier, but social media can really positively impact your SEO. So not only do the social media interactions affect what you or your customer sees, it also affects what happens behind the scenes and how well your website comes up in searches. So much sharing now takes place on major social media platforms that social signals are very important to your SEO or your search engine optimization. So social signals refer to your web page's collective shares, your likes, and your overall social media visibility as perceived by a search engine like Google, for example. And those activities really contribute to your page's organic search ranking, and they're seen as another form of authority. So they're similar to backlinks, where other websites will link back to your website. That gives your website a certain rating or authority. Social media does exactly the same thing. So if you've got strategies that are designed to increase your social media engagement, keep in mind that they're going to raise your website search engine ranking as well. So that's a major benefit. So if you're looking to raise your rankings, this comprehensive social media strategy has multiple benefits, in addition to obviously your other SEO tactics, of course. Now, ways that you can increase your social signals. Obviously, strong content is key. Valuable, entertaining, or informative content always gets more positive interaction than spammy or just boring or advertising, essentially. If you want to turn up the volume on your social signals, I would recommend that you post regularly, but focus on quality, not quantity. Posting regularly keeps your brand at the top of your social media feeds, for example, but engagement is what you need here. The more engaged people are with your posts, each individual post, the more people are going to see future posts. So keep that in mind. You might have an audience of 5,000 people. Every time you post, not all 5,000 people see your posts, but the more interaction a post gets, the more people it will be served up to the next post you do. So quality, not quantity, is really important here. Bad posts are actually doing you damage. Images are great for interaction or for attention, I should say. They really do. I don't have a statistic, but there is a huge increase in interaction rates for social media across all social media types when images are used. So words are just a little bit boring. Again, an image is going to attract our attention. Also use social media to listen. So hear what people are saying about your brand, respond to critique in a constructive and a positive way. Also have a look and listen to what people are saying about competitors or similar brands. Monitor through, there's different monitoring tools that you can use, but you can monitor keywords that are associated with your brand. You can track shares, you can monitor hashtags. So there's a lot of monitoring that you can do. Now, in terms of social media, I would definitely consider all social platforms, but keep in mind that you don't have to be on all social media platforms. You have to be where your target market is. So this goes back to knowing exactly who your target audience is, knowing what their needs and wants are, and therefore appearing only on the channels where your customers are. So keep that in mind. Produce content for all of those top social media sites that are relevant to your target audience, and really focus your efforts. Another thing here, just in terms of social media, is to not like repeat content, the same content on different channels. Okay, keep it all individual. There will be different people that follow you on different channels, but they could also be the same people. True brand advocates will follow you on every social media channel. So keep that in mind. You don't want to have that same content popping up. You want to tailor it for the channel that you're on. Now, to be really active on channels and encourage engagement, you really have to support social media in your business. So the ways that you can support that are firstly to listen. So there's 3 elements: listening, talking, and supporting. Online and offline, you need to listen. So use free tools for social monitoring that track mentions. They may track competitors or events. Become a social media monitoring specialist yourself through spending a bit of time on the social channels, looking at web monitoring tools, using your web analytics as well, or brand and reputation tools. So have a look at that data that you're getting in terms of your engagement, your reach, that kind of thing, and implement it or include it in your own reporting. If you might have monthly sales reports, for example, incorporate social media into that so that you can track how you're actually going. Actively track what's going on and then compare those results month on month. So that's listening. In terms of the next element, talking, talk offline in person, talk online with pictures, with media releases, with other content, by engaging with customers on social media. So answering questions, perhaps being on local community pages, or it could be product specific pages. Also engage with influencers if there are influencers that are relevant to your business and have the same target audience as you. Consider engaging with influencers as a viable option. Also go into blog pages. There could be video or other communities or social networks where people are talking. You can therefore listen, but also talk along with them as well. So as a brand, be active on these channels yourself, have a voice, and that builds your brand as a profile as well. Now, that last element is to support. So direct people to channels where they can talk. So provide links to your social media channels, maybe advertise them. Let's say you've got a shop front, advertise them within your store, advertise them on your email signatures, advertise them on your website, so that you're telling people, if you want to reach out to us, if you want to engage with us, these are the channels we're on. Make it easy for people to find you through these social media channels. Therefore, they will be able to talk to you. You'll be able to listen and you'll be able to talk back. So it becomes part of the cycle. Absolutely encourage guests to engage with you, both offline, but obviously online as well. Now, you might have customers that come into your office. It could be store, it could be venue. You might see them taking photos. You might let them know what your hashtags are. Or you could even have signs to say, you know, tag us for your chance to be featured on our Instagram page, for example. So you're telling people, you're supporting them with how they can communicate with you. That gives you amazing tools then to be able to listen to them and talk back. Also keep in mind, if you're really encouraging people to engage with you on social media, they're utilizing your product or service, therefore they're taking photos. That then gives you content to use again later. So it really encourages them to engage with you. It keeps you engaged with them in the long term. So when they need to make another purchase, they will know where to go back to get that product or service, but then they'll also know who to recommend if someone's asking for recommendations. You see, Facebook has a recommendations functionality. So this is where you want your business continually popping up. But in order for that to happen, you have to remain engaged with your current and your future customers. So listen, talk, support. Hopefully that makes sense. So going back to the customer journey, social media is an absolutely essential part of the journey. It allows you to improve your customer service. It allows you to engage with your customers and provide real-time responses to customer questions, whether that's at that awareness and consideration phase or whether it's, you know, later down the track. Through listening, through talking and supporting in the social media space, you'll really enhance the advocacy component of the customer journey, but also really enhance brand awareness, which will mean you'll become visible when your customers begin their journey. So remember that while most businesses focus their efforts on the first 3 stages of the journey, so the awareness, the consideration, and the purchase, it can be a huge missed opportunity because the last 2 stages, the loyalty and advocacy, or attention and advocacy, will bring you the most high value customers who in a lot of cases will actually spend even more with you and send even more great business your way. So you might remember I said at the very beginning, it costs you something like, in a retail sense, now every industry has a different statistic, but in a retail sense, it costs you something like 8.5 times more to attract a new customer than it does to retain an existing customer. So social media massively fits into this space. If you're not already involved in social media, if you're not already giving it the attention it deserves, absolutely make sure that you reconsider your strategy in this sense, and have a look at the perception of your business throughout this customer journey. Map out your own journey, thinking about when people first start to find you, that awareness and consideration stage, are the assets and the tools and the advertising that you have in the market truly representative of your business? If they're not, you have to invest in them to get them up to where they are or where they should be, because you could be missing out on a lot of business. From an online sense, I would say, and like I said, we do have digital marketing workshops that will go into this in more detail, but online, your website is your major, well, it's your number 1 salesperson. So your website's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Attracting customers. So it really has to have that time and effort spent on it, even if your business is a shop, or if it's a restaurant, or if it's something that's you're not selling anything online. That first impression online is absolutely crucial. So really look at that customer journey. I would encourage you to go away from today and start having a look at your advertising, your assets, but also before you do any of that, truly understand who your target market is and make sure that your products and services that you're offering match their needs and their wants. If not, you might need to do some changes at this level, at a product or perhaps even pricing sort of level, and then go back and start having a look at, make sure your advertising meets the needs from that perspective. So hopefully that makes sense. Nobody's asked any questions yet, but we've just wrapped up the session on customer service effects on social media. I do hope it makes sense, and I hope there's some things that you can take out of this to improve, or at the very least, better understand the connection between what happens face-to-face with your customers and what happens online and how they're directly related. So I'll stay on now and answer any questions. We have just really sort of scratched the surface of things when it comes to both the online space, social media, and customer service. So if you want to know any more, you can always book a one-on-one appointment with me through your ASBAS login or with any of the other advisors. Please ask any questions now, drop them in there, and I will endeavour to answer them. But yeah, if you need to know more, hopefully we can chat again soon. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I wish you all the best with your customer service and your social media journey.